Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday, the 13th of December. I am Flat Cap Callum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. All right, it's the start of the channel week. There's been no bonus vids. There's been a couple of horses in the comments. We'll get to that. And we are striding into Wednesday. I don't know why we're striding, to be fair. Just the word that popped in my head. We're going into Wednesday with a £24 stake. So we are having a fair try, I would say, on the first day of the week. Consists of three bets, three different Yankee bets. So I've got an afternoon one, which is 3 Lingfield and 1 at Hexham. So I've got one horse on the jumps. Everything else we're doing is on all weather. So 3 Lingfield, 1 Hexham. We've then got a Dundalk split leg Yankee and we've got a Kempton Yankee. So that is what I have got. There's a couple of additional doubles, but no, there's not like a combination double bet. And with the ground the way it is on the turf at the moment, I'm picking and choosing my moments, and certainly won't be putting out any win bets until we move away a little bit from heavy, I would say. £24 is what we've got. We have got one big price which I'm hoping will hold by the time I've done this video, so I'll keep an eye out on that one. But we've got an 80-1 shot at Kempton, that'll warm some people's cock. Well, I would say it won't warm people. It'll only warm people's cockles if it actually gets in the frame, won't it? But there we go. So what have we got first day back? So I need to go through Saturday's results. We need to do sort of rundown of where we are last week, where we are up to in the month and all that jazz. Cover the comments. And then we need to do a quick mention on last week's golf. And then this week, golf, last golf tournament for 3 weeks. I got one golfer. That is it in the Mauritius Open. One golfer. We'll come to that in a sec. Then I'll go through the bets as well. Don't think we've got any additional topics. So the plan would be tomorrow night, so Wednesday night's video would be with the tips the league, and possibly I'll see the darts. I know I keep saying the darts then never materialise. I've got my darts bet. I just need to actually find time to get it written out and just do a bit more bookie comparison, because last time I looked at bookie comparison it was a bit orcs, and what I need to do is, if I'm doing a 4 quarters Yankee, I need to just check which bookmakers might actually pay it out to give the right advice. As in, some bookmakers won't let you put those into accumulators. So I'm thinking the darts might be tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it definitely be Thursday. So the darts starts Friday, and I think of anyone I'm having an interest in, the first player out would be Monday. So for those of you unfamiliar, it's a bit of kind of not preliminaries if you like, but the top ranked players are already through into the first round proper, is what I would call it. So there's a lot of kind of like playoff matches, I would describe them as. I mean, I think technically it is the first round and then a lot of players through the second round, but none of the good players are out normally in at least the first week, something like that. I've got one non-top ranked player to put in the mix. I can't remember. I think it's something like the top 24. I think automatically go through to the next round, something like that. But anyway, that's for another day. So Saturday, I think it was ended up being quiet. It was 12 on £6.15 back to half back. Win Trixie started off with the shorty that went in, and then ICO sadly went wrong. It didn't look very good on that one. I haven't read the report, but it didn't look very good for it at all. It went wrong. Front Gunner was really rubbish, actually. I thought I was expecting a lot better from that horse. It was absolute rubbish, I think. That was my memory. I mean, it's Saturday. It was a long time ago. And then the main bet, we'd started off all right because Maxim managed to collar a place. Sid Ishmael then didn't really get much run for its money. It kind of, I don't know if it was classed as an unseat or fall, but basically it fell into the back of a horse that was falling. So that took the horse out of the race. I think technically it was an unseat. So it was a bit of a shame. Visibility non-runner, Plink placed, and then I think it was a good second, that horse Plink as well. And then Dicky Bird no good. So that would have got us a profit if we got a place in the last, but not to be. So 12 on, 6.15 back, a loss of 5.85, which meant we ended up losing last week 40 quid, so down 40. So that ends the run of four profitable weeks in a row. For context, we were down 40 last week. The week before that, we were up 58. So over the last 2 weeks, we're up 18. But not a huge amount, but being up's better than being down. We've plenty of weeks being down. So that's that. So I think the stats say we are still 27 ahead in December. So we were a little bit further ahead than that, and it's been whittled down last week. So we lost 40 quid off it. But we are still 27 ahead going into the 13th of December. Knowing, as I keep sort of trailing, the last week of December, particularly 26th to 29th of December, going to be busy. So it'd be nice to go into that ahead because the channel will be certainly putting down a lot of stake on those 4 days. So yeah, we'll see how we get on this week and see how we end up at the week. But 27 up for the month, and then the channel overall, I think we're still sat now 17%, I think, for the year, 70%. If you want all the stats, if you never noticed, they're all in the description of the video. They're updated every video, unless I'm kind of in a hurry and they might possibly be the day before's. But usually it's pretty clear. But yeah, lots of data and stuff is kept for the channel, and then a lot of it I try and put in the description. Annoyingly, if you've never created your own YouTube channel, what you can't do is the word count for the about is limited to a smaller amount of words than the description. So I can put more in the description than I can in the about, which is annoying because I'd rather actually have a lot more in the about everything, and then the description be shorter. There we go. That's my YouTube challenges. That's that. So tips in the comments. I think I had 1 or Sunday, 2 Tuesday, no good on any of them in terms of a return. Tuesday's hollow sound, to be fair, turning in, I thought we were on for that. It definitely looked like one of the best free going, and then just didn't get all the way to the line really. I've looked back at it, and I think I don't think there's any issue about a non-trier in that one. I think the heavy ground and the distance combined was just a little bit too much. It was coming off a break, but that isn't always the problem without that trainer. But I think, kind of more like 2 mile and 2 on dodgy ground, or 2.5 on yielding ground. That might be the ballpark for that horse. So we'll keep an eye and see on that. And then else in the comments, there was a couple of anti-post stuff in the comments. Oh yeah, anti-post stuff, I'll mention that. So the first anti-post bet I put out this year was for Truckers Lodge in the Welsh National, which I put out a few weeks ago. 33s was the price. It's now about half of that after winning at the weekend. So happy with where that one is. And then I've stuck a couple out, sort of a bit more punty one. But Truckers Lodge was a well thought out. I'm not saying I'm putting out dodgy stuff. Truckers Lodge was well thought out. The other two were a bit more reactionary. Not that I think they were bad, but I put out Chambard. So after Chambard won at the weekend, there was a lag on 365, I think it was, and I know some people caught it, where they were still showing 100 to 1 for the Grand National. Who knows whether that horse will get to the Grand National? It's got to qualify for the National. It'll be put up a certain amount of pounds for winning the Beach Chase. It's 11-year-old now, so all of those things are unknown. But for a horse that won the Beach Chase, that's previously won at Cheltenham Festival, 100 to 1 for the National, there was value in that. So yeah, I'm not going to be intending to put out Grand National anti-post, but when you catch a horse at 100 to 1 that's got the previous of that one, I think that was well worth doing. And the other one I put out, a Cheltenham Festival speculative one, it was running at the weekend, Harmonia Maker. It looked like Paddy and Betfair were 33s and everybody else was 12s to 16s, and it didn't really make any sense to me. It didn't run a brilliant race at the weekend. It was second, beaten by a 33 to 1 shot in a 5 or 6 runner race, as you do. And it's now drifted back out. So Paddy and Betfair are still 33s. Everyone else is at about 20, 25. So there's still, I would say, value in the horse at 33s, just less keen. But with the Mare's Chase race, which is what I touted it for, you're generally not going to find many more, 9, 10, 11, 12 runners is probably where you're about at with that race. So each way 3 places anti-post is okay. So yeah, we'll see when I kind of do anti-post Cheltenham stuff in the new year. We'll see whether Harmonia Maker's still there, but I still stand by. I think 33s for the Mayor's Chase is a good price for that horse. The only question mark I've got is whether it will turn up, because last year they skipped Cheltenham for it. That would be my only worry. All right. Okay. Comments, stats. I think that's everything. Tips the competition tomorrow. So I will do today's bets and then golf, and then we're done. I think. Right. So Wednesday's bet. So first bet is this. So 12 o'clock, got an early start. Lingfield, Bowman, 12 to 1. That definitely should be single figures in my reckoning. Then the jumps horse. We're having a bit of a flyer on the 145 Hexham, Glenavardra, 20 to 1. Trained by George Bewley. It's owned by the Bewleys by the look of it as well. And what you've got here is a profile of a horse that was a decent enough standard in point to points and ran against some horses that have gone on to be much, much better at point to points. It's then gone into hurdles with the Bewleys and looks atrocious. Looks absolutely awful. It's done nothing. What you've got here is it's now going on a handicap debut into a chase. And I think the distance, the fact it's got a chase, it's got new headgear on, there's lots of signs that say this is the day that they look like they might be trying a little bit harder with Glenavardra. I would expect if it's kind of expected to run well, I would expect the price of that horse to contract. If it's a drifter, I would be less keen. So I know often I'll say, if it drifts, it's a good point to go back in on it. That's the type of profile of a horse where I would say take the signal that if there's not late money coming for it, and I mean like in the last 15 minutes, I'd be less keen. So Glenavardra will take a flyer on that handicap chase debut after running atrociously as a hurdler, but decent enough as a point-to-pointer. Then we've got 2 o'clock Lingfield. We've got a couple of decent prices there, but we'll see how we go. There's not huge margin in some of these, so although they might look like 28s and 20s, there's not millions of points on there. I would have that about 16s, and I'd have that about 12s. This indication. So Rocking ends 28 to 1, and then the 230 Lingfield Florence Street 20s. So we've got a 20p each way Yankee on the whole thing, 50p win single on Bowman, and then we've got 50p each way singles on the next 3. So a win single, the top one, the 12s, each way singles on the next 3, and a 20p each way double on the last 2 to make it £8.30. Betting advice is quite important for this one. Sky best, because Sky are an extra place on this race. And then 365, 888, Betfred, Unibet and Betway are going 4 places on these 11 runners. Most bookies are not. So those ones are. So you've got 6 bookmakers where you've got an advantage there on those 2 Lingfield races. So Sky win out, 365 second best, because you'll get Bog in the morning, and then 888 Betfred, Unibet, Betway, 830 is your bet. That's bet 1. And then we'll go to the Dundalk bet. Split leg the first one. I've definitely got a slight preference for Cherry Bloom at the prices, and the other Cherry horse, which I think is first reserve. Keep an eye on that one. If that one gets in, I'd be having a little wager on that as well. But I wasn't going to put a reserve in for the bet. But yeah, I forget what it's called. There's another horse beginning with Cherry in the same race. Cherry Bloom is the channel selection, along with Elephant John. So yeah, there's point value in both, but so I felt like that was the right leg to split it. So Cherry Bloom at 16s, Elephant John 12s, 545 the Bog Bank 11s. It's rare you get the Bog Bank at the moment running at a double figure price, so I want to take the advantage of that. It's usually a single figure price. It usually runs consistently. It didn't last time, and that's why it's now put in at a double figure price. So we'll take the Bog Bank at 11s, 615 Kayla 11 to 1. and then 6:45 Flyer. There's a lot of horses in there that you could argue are really well handicapped on what they've done last time, but from a value perspective, that's the biggest differential by far. I think the race is stepping down in distance from 1.5 miles, but it's shown an aptitude for Dundalk, and I think as much as there's a whole bunch of horses that on paper could finish ahead of it, from a value perspective, it should be, I'd say, about 18s, 16s, maybe something like that. So there was a bigger point differential in there, so that's what I've put it in there. But I could have easily split legged that one and done all sorts of things. But we'd be looking at horses that are in the kind of 10 to 12 to 1 range, and when I've got that one, I'd rather go try my luck on the horse that's treble the price. 2 times 10p each way Yankees, so Cherry Bloom and then the next 3, Elephant John and the next 3. 50p each way singles and 20p each way double. That is Cherry Bloom and Flyer. So Cherry Bloom's the lean and Flyer. Both 50p each way singles and a 20p each way double. And then we've got 3 50p win singles. So that's Elephant John, Bogbank and Kayla. 8.30 again is the bet. Sky Best, because Sky are 5 on all 4 of those races at Dundalk. No one else is. Everyone else is 4. There isn't any. It's often the case recently with Dundalk. There's a few bookies that have gone 3, but there isn't. Other than Bet Victor, which is just terrible for my bets. Never bet with Bet Victor in my bets. That'd be an awful idea. We've got Sky Best and then a bog bookie like 365 Paddy Coral or Ladbrokes. That's bet 2. And the Kempton bet. We're going to start off with a big price in the 5.30. And at the time making the video, there was quite a bit of variance on the horse. So Ray de la Batalla, 80 to 1 is the kind of the middle ground price. There's hundreds in places. I think it was Paddy and Betfair, but 365 and Sky, which I know a lot of people use, are only 50s. So if you've got the option of other bookmakers, definitely shop around. It's the kind of horse 50 to 1 versus 80 to 1 versus 100 to 1, that's a huge differential in point value. So if it does happen to come in the frame, then it makes a huge difference to the bet if you've got other things going on to it. I guess a word on that horse. It's from a stable that doesn't particularly do well in maiden and novices. That's a great advert for you. Simon Dow's yard, but he's got Callum Shepherd booked, and he's got a particularly good strike rate with Callum Shepherd. Callum Shepherd does all right, and Callum Shepherd knows what to do at Kempton as well. There's clearly some nice thoughts in there on pedigree and breeding, and there's quite a few horses that haven't run. But if you forgive that horse's run at Epsom, where if you watch it back, it didn't look quite right. The time before that, when it ran at Lingfield on the all-weather, it ran against some horses that have gone on to be better than where that horse suggested it was on there. I think it was given a rating of 70 on Racing Post, but there's horses in there that have gone on to be much better from a handicap mark point of view. So it's definitely worth, to me, taking a bit of a flyer on there, because there's not a strong favourite in that race. I felt like it was worth taking on the top of the market, and then I found that horse, and I just think, although the stable doesn't do well in those races, and it well could just be there to make up the numbers and get its qualifying mark, that absolutely could be the case. I think it's an interesting move to take it to Kempton and to put Callum Shepherd on it. So I'm taking a flyer on that. And then 7 o'clock we've got Crack Regiment 12s, 7:30 Max Vega 12s. I really like that. I mean, that race is great from what you'd call like a traditional bad each way race, but I think that favourite is vulnerable. I'd be laying the favourite. I think it was 8 to 15 when I looked last. I think the favourite's vulnerable. It hasn't performed up to its usual standard this year, and there's some other horses in that race that look like they'll do all right. So I think the favourite is vulnerable. I'm not saying it's never going to win, but again, I mentioned this the other day. I don't really go into this side of it so much usually on the channel, but if I was inclined to be laying, I would lay the favourite. So for those uneducated, I'd back it to lose, because I think there's value in backing it to lose at that kind of price, because you get odds against backing it backing it to lose, which is a good bet, I think. So if you look through the others, there's not much in between them, but I think Max Vega to me edged it. So I think it's a really good price, 12-1. I'd actually mark it about 6. And then 8 o'clock, Miss Bellabrand, which we took when it won at 40-1 last time, and even at 15-2, I'm happy to take it again. It's only gone up a couple of points, dropped back in distance, which I don't think is a bad thing. So yeah, it's not a huge movement you would want in 15-2, but I think it's worth putting in. So 20p each way Yankee. We're going to go a full £1 each way single on Ray de la Batalla. And then we've got 50p win singles on Crack Regiment and Max Vega. So that takes you to 740. Sky are best in terms of place terms because they're 4 on a couple of these. Betfred are 4 on one of them, but most bookies are 3 across the board. The watch out, as I said, is about the price on that, but yeah, it's Sky and 365 are not going to get the best prices for this bet. So it might be worth looking. I would say at the time of doing this, I would forego the, if you just put it all on one bookmaker, I'd forego the extra places that you can get on Sky and Betfred, and I'd put this on with Paddy or Betfair because you get better price. 740, that's bet free. All right. Golf, I'll put it in the comment for those who like it in the comment, but the one golfer we're going to go for this week, because last week's weren't so good. I think Jaco Van Ziel, he ended up having a not bad last round. And really, if you look back, if it wasn't for about 3 or 4 holes where he had an absolute nightmare across the tournament, he'd have been basically framing. So Jaco Van Ziel, I mean, for 300-1 shot, I think he was top 30. It wasn't too bad. Anyway, Mauritius Open, we're not on Jaco. Mauritius Open, we are going, Oliver Becker is our one interest. So if you were doing it channel advisory, it would be a 50p each way single. So it's a £1 advised bet on the golf. Oliver Becker, he's got an exemplary record at the Mauritius Open, and when it's been played at different courses as well. And so that, I think that's interesting in itself. It's not, I mean, a lot of golfers are going to finish for the season, so the field quality is not as good as has been the case in the last few weeks in the South African tournaments. And he looked better last time in his last tournament, Oliver Becker. So I think we'll have a little spin at 50-1. 50-1 broadly available, 40s and 45s in places. I think the best place you could get it on, I think if you get 8 places at 365, it's best. Then you've got something like Paddy where 7 places 50-1. But Oliver Becker, the only golf interest for this week. I think that's it, is it? I think I've done it. Right, I think we're there. All right, well, good. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll be going to bed now. I'll check that price on Ray de la Batalla. I will see you tomorrow night where I'll be doing tips to competition, possibly the darts. We'll see how busy. If the horses are busy for Thursday, which they're not normally, then so if the horses are busy, I'll do the darts the next day. If they're not so busy, then I'll do the darts tomorrow. I've got four players to win their quarter in a Yankee or Lucky 15, depending on the bookmaker. We'll do singles on them, and then I've got only one additional bet, which is name the finalist bet, which not many bookies are doing. I think it might be a Paddy only bet, advised on name the 2 finalists. That is what I'm going to be doing. So nothing in outright. I would advise against outright betting in something like the darts, because paying 2 places, unless you find a bookmaker that's going to pay 4 places, which does happen on some of them, there's just not the value in betting like that. Tradition says in this kind of tournament, the winner is generally one of the more fancied players. You don't really get so many shocks in the PDC. Occasionally it happens, and you might get a surprise semi-finalist, and that'll be where I'm banking a bit of cash on. But winning the thing, not usually a surprise package. Anyway, that's me. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.